Welcome to a very special edition of the Sports Clinic podcast. I have with us again Mr. Gurkut Singh. He's a cricket analyst, does a fantastic job and you would have seen his videos on his website. He does it with We Are Cricket and with cricket.com. Thank you for joining us. How are you?
World Cup's been good. It gets a little tiring to follow each and every game closely, but yeah, just hoping that as an Indian fan, when this World Cup ends, you feel happy and there is a reason to celebrate. Not
So I
that there
was I
haven't
was
been.
going to start with that question, but we were beat to that question by Glenn Maxwell. So let's start with Glenn Maxwell first. I was going to only ask you about Team India, and then yesterday happened. So let's talk briefly about yesterday. First, was that the best innings that you have seen in an ODI? And then, as a cricket buff historian, is that the best ODI innings of all time?
Yeah, what happened yesterday in that Afghanistan Australia game is something that I've not seen in the 20 years of my cricket watching. Uh, for a guy to come in and score 80% of the runs that were there remaining in the target with literally no support and then on one leg is crazy. Uh, yes, you could say that he had the rub of the green in terms of two catches being dropped, that LBW call also, being reversed. But even then, it was just a humongous task and to score the amount of runs that he did. And when Maxwell got to his 100 and Australia still had around 100 runs remaining, you just felt that Maxwell had more confidence in terms of winning the game than what Afghanistan did at that point of time. Such has been his reputation and such was his hitting that, yeah. So you feel gutted for Afghanistan because it's a young team and they had their moments to seal the semi-final qualification. Had they won yesterday and then not collapsed versus Bangladesh, they would have probably been in the semis right now. I feel it would be very difficult for them to recover from a game like that to then take on South Africa. If they still
Emotionally.
do a good job and end up beating South Africa, you will have to say that regardless of who ends up being champions of the World Cup, Afghanistan will be the real winners of this World Cup.
No, they've been a wonderful story. Um, and, I was watching the Maxwell innings, and, today it's so easy to be cynical about sports, and I watch lots of sports, but this is why we watch sports, because of these moments that take your breath away. It was captivating, riveting. This was like watching Usain Bolt run the 100, like watching Michael Phelps do what he did in Beijing. It was amazing to see, and I'm glad that there's not that we still get these moments that take us back to why we fell in love with watching sports in the first place.
True, true. You just feel that in so many ways, sport is like life. It has so many life lessons that no matter how bad situations and things get, you should not be giving up. And there could be some lifelines on offer or some stroke of luck which will ensure that things will turn around. Because if you look at it, that drop, the first drop,
Yep.
which was of Rashid to which was dropped by Shahidi, you just felt that after that Maxwell decided that this game is going to go nowhere if I just keep on defending. I'll have to probably find the fence, hit a few boundaries, and yeah. So you just felt that also after a point of time, Afghanistan were not bowling to get Maxwell out. They were just trying to contain him, and they couldn't. Surprisingly, they were so short of plans, or they were so stunned that they couldn't even create chances versus Pat Cummins.
No, it just everything that could go wrong for them will went wrong for them. Let's come to Team India. Before the World Cup, I did a preview with Ayaz Memon, who's a very famous journalist, and I've shared this clip on my account, that he felt this was the best Indian team coming into a World Cup. Um, you mentioned a great point on your show that this is the best Indian squad if you include if you assume, if you take a healthy Pandya and then you also include Rishabh Pant, who of course is not here, um, take me through that. Should they, and of course this assumes they win, should they win the World Cup, is this not only the best Indian World Cup team ever, but the best World Cup team, period, that's ever won a World Cup?
I think you have Australia 2003 and 2007 right there. 2007 Australia were very dominant. So you'll probably have to look at those numbers and their margin of wins before you really say that this is the best World Cup team out there. And then the teams of West Indies in 75 and 79, I've not watched them, so I can't say, but they are also spoken in very high terms. So definitely the best Indian team. Would it be the best ever World Cup team? I am not sure about that.
The thing that strikes me about this India team is that they have so many different ways to win. Uh, yes, they haven't really chased down a win yet, but there's no reason to think they could. They can defend a total, they can put up a total. They have depth in batting, they have depth in the middle order, they have depth, in basically hitters and strikers. And like you could easily see someone doing a Maxwell for India. You could also easily see somebody basically playing a long knock whereby they score 120 of 120 and and chase something like that. You can see them, and they've done this, taken fifers, but you can see both the seamers doing it, or you could see a spinner. Talk to me about this. How did this come to be? Because if you went a month before the Asia Cup, I think there were questions about Team India. And yet the Asia Cup really sort of was the start of this team peaking and finding itself. Take me through that journey.
So you have to understand and realize that uh, till before the Asia Cup, India did not have three of their main players in the starting 11. In Shreyas, KL, and Bumrah. And Bumrah makes a huge difference, huge difference because uh, last game Bumrah did not pick up wickets, but he bowled as well as good as a spell as he could. And what Bumrah's presence does is that it uplifts everyone. It basically ensures that opposition batters have to take risk against other bowlers, and then they get those wickets. So in the Asia Cup, that happened, and then Hardik, I think, was playing in the West Indies ODI, so you felt that he could also. I still feel that Hardik did not have enough batting time and had not done much with the bat. Now they've reached a situation where they have to play their best six batters, which means Surya Kumar Yadav, and his spot was up for debate when the squad came out because Sanju Samson had done well. He had better numbers. So yeah, barring that, but there wasn't that much debate because you felt that this player is anyway not going to be a part of your 11. He's going to be a part of your squad because your first 11 did not have him in the your first 11 did not have him. And then there were talks of Ishan Kishan, but he had done decently, once in the middle order. And as an opener, he was doing as well as he could have scored 350s back to back in West Indies. So it's just that, with Bumrah coming in, Shami did not play the West Indies ODIs, and Siraj has been doing well. What happened is that I don't think anyone expected Shami to come in straight away and hit the ball running. So that's been a surprise. We've known how good Shami can be, but never thought that he could be this good in a stretch of a few games. So yeah, players speaking at the right time, striking form at the right time. Rohit really finding a balance and how he wants to go about it because uh, over the last year you felt many times that Rohit was batting well but not able to convert his starts or getting those scores because and for a while Rohit and Virat hadn't really played a lot of ODIs, so India were trying a lot of things, and it's how things are in subcontinent that when you are experimenting things not getting results because India lost a series to Australia at home in March. There is way too much of criticism, way too much of cynicism that comes along with it because regardless of whatever the talk might be in the subcontinent about, looking at long term, the truth is, as an India captain, as a Pakistan captain, as a Bangladesh captain, as a Sri Lanka captain, I don't think you have the luxury of losing a series, uh, regardless of how small it is, because the knives are out. So that is what the public reaction was, and yeah, now that things are falling in place, everyone's praising, oh, the experimentation was right, etc., etc. But that's how, unfortunately, a lot of mainstream analysis goes as well. It's just based on hindsight and not really based on the reasoning of a lot of the moves.
You mentioned the bowling. Let's come to the bowling. And again, let's contextualize this historically. Bumrah, Shami, Jadeja in the last match. Let's assume Pandya is part of your plan still and he's not injured. Compare this to the Aussies of the early noughties when they had that World Cup run, in your opinion.
Yeah, the 2017 was a very good one, without a doubt. The 2003 team as well. And what you see is that teams that have gone on to win the World Cup, they've had very stable and good middle order batters who are capable of doing well in each and every situation. Because I think you'd remember that in 2003, there was a game between Australia and Pakistan where Pakistan had Australia down, three down quite early, but then
The
Andrew
Andrew Simmons
Symonds
game.
came out of
Yep.
nowhere and had that innings. In 2003, actually, Australia was stretched on a few occasions. They were stretched versus England. They lost a few wickets to Shane Bond, but they still managed to win games. That is what their quality was. 2007, they were just steamrolling oppositions. There was just no competition at all. So, in terms of, I'm not even sure if in terms of balance we could compare those two sides because of how much ODI cricket has changed over the
Sure.
years. Uh, I felt earlier, you could have gotten away without having a fifth bowler and having part-timers chip in, because you had five fielders outside. You had two balls. Oh, sorry, no, only
One
one
ball.
ball,
Yep.
and the second ball being changed around the 34th over, so that allowed your part-time spinners to come into play a lot more earlier. There was a hint of reverse on offer, which hasn't been the case as much in modern day ODI cricket. But yeah, in terms of getting their bases covered, 2003, this team's on par with the 2003 2017. If you really want to nitpick, you could say they don't have a left arm pacer. You could say they don't have a left-handed batter in the top six. So that is where teams can come and hurt them. But what has happened is that the likes of Shreyas and KL have ensured that they don't get stuck versus left arm spin. Uh, and even if they are, like how Santner was bowling well in that New Zealand game, they are happy to just play that bowler out, like how both Virat and Shreyas did versus South Africa when they
Yep.
just laid out Maharaj for his spell of 30 runs.
You mentioned Kohli. Let me ask you this. He obviously reached his 49th century. I won't ask you to compare him to Tendulkar, different eras, different batters. I will ask you to tell me this. What does Kohli do better than Tendulkar? What does Tendulkar do better than Kohli?
Yeah, I think technically, when it just comes to the technical aspect of batting, there are many batters who will be better than Kohli, because I felt that uh, in the last 5 years or so, Kohli's range of shots has been very limited. He doesn't play the sweep. Uh, to pacers, he doesn't play the cut. And now, even against left arm spinners, he's not playing the cut. So you see, even though he doesn't get out to left arm spin, what happens to him is if the ball is short of good length and around the third or the fourth stump, he only has the punch. And depending upon what the line is of the ball, the punch will either go to the short mid wicket fielder or to the cover fielder. So the range of shots for Tendulkar was far greater. Tendulkar had the sweep. He also had the paddle sweep. And people, when Kohli was going through that rut of 2.5 to 3 years, people were saying, "Oh, he should not play the cover drive." The thing is, Tendulkar could afford to do that because Tendulkar had good game options or square of the offside. Virat doesn't have that. Virat doesn't have the cut. Virat doesn't have the uppercut that Tendulkar and Sehwag could play. So Tendulkar's technically the far more holistic and better batter. Number of shots, defensive technique, everything. And I still feel the better test batter without a doubt. Uh, when it comes to ODIs, I just feel that Virat doesn't let the scoreboard pressure get to him. He just understands the pulse and the this
As a
World Cup.
chaser, as a
This
chaser.
this World Cup highlights that chasing is not as easy as what someone like Virat has made it. So I just think in ODIs he understands the pulse of the game far better. He's able to find gaps better, and he's able to not get stuck. He's able to find a way. Sometimes you feel that Virat's not at his fluent best, but half an hour, if you've seen him bat, you look up at the scoreboard, he's already got to 40 or 45 or 50, 55 balls. The 100 that he had versus Pakistan in the Asia Cup, I did not think he was batting at his best. I did not think that he was at his fluent best. But he reached his 50, I think, in 55 balls. And he ended up with scoring 100 at a strike rate of his eventual inning strike rate was 120. So he's just through his fitness, he's just managed to ensure that okay, even if I'm struggling or even if I'm not getting the boundaries, I will just make sure that I'll keep the scoreboard freaking through my running between the wickets. So he's had a lot of awareness that way, and uh, he's in a chase. He's made pretty much he's made himself pretty much inevitable. With Tendulkar, you never got that got assurance when he was in the chase. You felt that okay, he could get out, and you rarely felt the nervous 90s with Tendulkar. So it was just you felt that you I still feel that in terms of chases in ODIs, Virat is just so calculative and so ahead of everyone else. He knows that which bowler is going to bowl when, what kind of score is he looking at till that point of time. So he just forces the opposition to bowl to him, which I don't think Tendulkar needed to. And even when the situation arrived in ODIs, from what I watched, I started watching in 2003, wasn't as good in terms of chasing. Uh,
Last couple questions. There's a sports blogger who tweeted something that went viral. What he said was that basically, if India wins 9 out of 9 matches and yet loses in the semis or the final, they should tweak the way the ICC does knockouts to more of a IPL double elimination format or a best of three format. Um, it's something Rohit also mentioned after the World Test Championship that you have a 2 year cycle and then you have a one-off match. What are your thoughts on tweaking the format to making it like the IPL double elimination or a best of three final to ensure that the best team wins, or is the current format the best way to do it? And
See,
that part of tournament. Uh,
if you
Go ahead.
if you want to ensure the best team wins, you might as well just have the league and not have knockouts at all. You just adopt the
Just a
systems
round
that
robin soccer.
the football
Yep.
leagues have, and just be with it. You also want that excitement of a knockout, and then you want to ensure that the best team wins. Can't really happen that way. If I was there, I'd probably want the format to go back to what it was in 2007, where you
Super
had
Sixes.
16 teams,
Yeah.
and losing one game could have consequences. See, that is what happens in a World Cup, right?
Yep.
Football World Cup.
Yep.
You lose one game, there's a consequence. You look at Grand Slams in tennis,
Same
you
thing.
lose one game, you are done. So uh, I want that, but I know why it doesn't become financially feasible if a big upset happens. But I really like that format because from there you also take forward the points, because that Super 8s only meant that teams were playing 6 matches. They were carrying forward points from the group stage,
Yep.
which is very similar to what happened in the qualifiers. I liked the qualifier format. I loved it. And I'd rather have that format because, England, up till the Australia game, they had lost 5 games, or yeah, they'd lost five
Yep.
games and they were still in the reckoning. you look at Pakistan and New Zealand. Both of them have lost 4 games and they're still in the reckoning. So in no other sport you will have teams who've lost 4 games and be in the reckoning to reach the last 4.
Yep.
That's got to do also with the number of countries that play cricket, but otherwise also. So yeah, I think if you want the best team to win, you replace it with the league system. You just have the Super League and declare the World Cup winner on the basis of that. But if you want to have knockouts, then have knockouts. Don't try and find the middle ground. And in T20s, it is still understandable to an extent because T20, the format is small. The duration of the game is small, that literally one slip up in 1 over can really dictate the result of the game. And you don't have teams with far lesser quality can defeat teams easily, relatively. In ODIs, because you still have to play around 100 overs, it
Yep.
is not as easy. Federer, Nadal, Djokovic lost a fair number of 3-setter games, but they
Correct, but not
did
five
not lose
setters.
as many 5-setter games. Duration of the game is also a factor. And as coming to what Rohit said about those best of 3 finals in the
Test
WTC,
match. Yeah.
I don't think it's feasible because 3 test matches, you need to have a window for it. 3 test matches basically means you need 3 weeks window.
Yeah, you need a
Where
month
is that window
almost.
going to come from? So, and my personal views on test matches is that after this cycle, post 2025, I think only 5 teams will be playing test matches because it's not feasible.
Right.
It's not feasible for the boards. It's not feasible for the cricketers to play. And if cricketers will start themselves looking, will start looking at leagues to elongate their careers and to earn money, which is fair because that is they have a very
Short.
short life
Yep.
and they want to maximize it to the highest level possible. So if cricketers start training themselves to play T20 cricket a lot, if you don't have first class cricketers coming in from your system, you will not be able to play a lot of test cricket anyway. So I feel test cricket at max will be restricted to 5 teams. The big 3, maybe South Africa, and then I'm not sure if it would be New Zealand, Pakistan, or Sri Lanka. I'm really not sure.
Last couple questions. As India goes into the semis and then the final, probably, what's the chink in the armor if you, as an Indian fan, or if you're Indian management, whereby a team could upset them? What is the one weakness that you think you've identified over these 8 games, or is there even a chink?
There is. So so far, what has also happened is that in the games they could have been tested. They had the slight rub of the green. You had that catch going down of Kohli in that Australia game. I thought Sri Lanka were outstanding with the ball in the first 6 overs. They could have easily had India 25 for 3. Easily. Now, India would have still probably managed to reach 250, 270 from there. And, with the bowling attack that is there, they could really, won the game. So, if India play at 1 KD, they would really want that when the ball swinging in the first 10, if Rohit can switch to his test match avatar, if he feels that conditions are such, then because what has happened is that whenever Kohli's also walked out to bat in the first 10, he's also not been able to do a lot. His average in the power play also hasn't been great. So it's not been as bad as Joe Root, but he's had his share of failures also. So we probably want to avoid that. So yeah, the problem is they don't have batting depth. So if you have them 2 down early in the power play, and if those 2 are Virat and Rohit both, then you could think of pressurizing, because as good as Shreyas, KL, and others have been, it's
It's not the same.
they will know they are still no match for
Right.
the experience and the skills of Rohit and Virat. So
Right.
there is that. So yeah, that is where I feel they could be in trouble. On the bowling side of things, what New Zealand did versus India was something that could have been a template for other teams to follow. New Zealand, started to go after Kuldeep. Kuldeep had gone for 48 in his first drive, and they did not give a wicket to Jadeja, which was also down to what lines which Jadeja was bowling, because when Kuldeep was going for runs at the other end, you needed Jadeja to, just not leak as many runs. So Jadeja was wicketless in that game. Kuldeep got 2 wickets, but it happened in his second spell. But for that, you need to be able to survive the first spell.
Right.
If you're 3 down in the first 10 or in the first 15,
Doesn't help you.
then you cannot really dictate turns to the spinners. So, yeah, India would, uh, if a team gets a start, say they are 50 for 1 after 10, then maybe the bowling could get tested. So far, the bowling's still done well, because Pakistan, I felt, were in a very good position when they were
One
155 for 2.
55 for two, yeah, after 29 points
A
on
lot
10.
of people were criticizing Babar and Rizwan for their approach, but I thought they were setting up well for runs in the last 10, because you cannot really expect the likes of Iftikhar, Shadab, Nawaz to play a proper innings. Short Shakil was done defensively by Kuldeep, and from there on, you just knew that India could run through. So uh, that innings, I felt Pakistan were on course for a good score, 280 to 300, but India responded well. New Zealand, you felt, were on course for a 300 plus score, but India again responded well in the last 10. And so far, the bowling's really done all right. You really can't say, but if India are playing at 1 KD, they have to chase 280, 290, and you have them 2 down in the first 10, then you could get tested, because that was a similar situation in which Sri Lanka had India in that final in the 2011 World Cup final, and it needed 2.5 knocks to take India through. One very good knock by Gambhir, a half decent knock by Virat. Uh, you could say it was I mean, I might be, being slightly harsh by saying it was a half decent knock, because at that time you really needed to resurrect that collapse. So, and then you needed Dhoni to come in
Dhoni to
and
come in, of
back
course.
till the end. So that is where you could sort of test them, especially if you get both Virat and Rohit, because that, I'm sure, that is where nerves will kick in of Shreyas, because this is Shreyas' first World Cup.
Yep.
KL has played before. Gill's first World Cup, and Gill's not had as many runs as he would have liked. And Surya Kumar Yadav's first World Cup. Jadeja with the bat, you really don't want to take a lot of chances on. You feel that if you really required Jadeja to come in and bat, uh, because those innings like the ones that he had versus New Zealand in that semi-final, they will not happen every day. That will remain one of a special innings. If you expect him to come in that position and repeat it, it's just asking too much, especially with that Indian tail, because that game Jadeja came to bat at 8, and Jadeja needs another batter to bat with him to guide him. So often, if Jadeja's batting with the tail, you felt that he's doing just weird stuff, which is not making sense.
Need someone
So,
to.
so India could, and so far India have had almost every game where either one of Virat or Rohit have scored 80 plus. So Virat, Rohit both going early in the first 10 is where India could be in waters that they did not thought, or they would not like to be in.
No, it should be fascinating. I think it's such a well-constructed team that it's going to take a lot to beat them. Uh, Last question, it's a cheeky question from the Pakistan fans. Rain on Thursday. What's the weather forecast in Bengaluru?
See, it's Bangalore. Rain is something that happens. It's not exactly like London, where it could come at any time and go at any time, but when it rains bad. But the good thing is that it has the best drainage system in India across the grounds, no doubt about it. uh, but really can't say. I still think that Pakistan should back themselves if they really are vying for that semi-final spot, back themselves to beat this England side, because if you cannot beat this England side
Then you have
confidently,
no place in
then
the semis
you
anyway.
really need to question that, are you deserving of being in that last four? Uh, I felt I really wanted Afghanistan to be in the last four, because I felt New Zealand did not do anything to correct their problems. They were just taking a punt by playing a lot of all-rounders without playing a fifth bowler, and the last four games have costed them.
Yep.
Pakistan, I again feel the way the spin bowling has panned out. It's been really sad. Is I can't remember the last time Pakistan turned up with a spin attack which was as ineffective as this one,
Yep.
where you feel one bowler's landing only full tosses, the other is giving cut shot practice, and the third one really crumbles under pressure or is not sure of what he's wanting to do. And Haris Rauf, I don't know. I really have no words. I've criticized him enough, but I just feel uh, he he needs to he needs to bowl to the batter and the conditions and not to his ego.
Ego,
I just
correct.
feel that he's done a lot of ego bowling in this World Cup where he's going short because he feels that is his strength. But good batters have just enjoyed the pace that he's
Rohit
offered
took him to
and
the
at that game.
cleaners.
Not just Rohit, Kusal Mendes did.
Did as well, yes,
Kusal
absolutely.
Mendes cut him over point for a six. He came back, bowled another bouncer, this time closer to the stumps. He was hooked. Uh, he got hit for four fours by Mitchell Marsh.
Yep.
Even in that Bangladesh game, before getting that perfect length to Rahim, he was hit for three fours. Last game, you felt that yeah, he induced an edge, but overall,
He's been very disappointing.
Yorkers have gone missing, which I feel is a sign that he's not confident enough. And it's just that when things have not worked out for him, he's not even looked to contain the batters, which is something that Hassan Ali and Shaheen have tried to do. So that is something that would be disappointing.
Thank you. It should be a fascinating end to what's been a World Cup that's picked up in interest. I think it started off slowly, but certainly the last 10 days or so you've had a lot better games. It's been a lot more exciting. But
I
then,
think
of
the
course,
beauty of I think the beauty of every world tournament is that it needs a few upsets or
yeah,
it needs a few results which you don't have. The sad part is that those upsets are not having a consequence in
correct. It
terms
didn't
of
lead to anything.
determining the
Afghanistan
last four.
reaching the semis would have been, but
Yeah.
they will, if they don't make the semis, they will look at that Bangladesh loss as one that really sort of hurt them.
Even the Australia loss. So
Correct. Yeah, obviously that goes without saying. That'll haunt them for a while because, like you said, it just seemed like they ran out of plans at the end.
yeah, so the upsets have not had consequences because you look at the previous formats, before 2019 one, even in a 2015 kind of format or 2011 kind of format where you have six games, uh, where you have six games and you feel the top four teams will go through. If you lose to Afghanistan,
You're out.
say if Pakistan lose to Afghanistan, then it becomes difficult for them to qualify.
Right.
But this time, there are not as many, or say South Africa losing to Netherlands. But credit to South Africa that they've not dropped games to anyone else, barring India, who everyone has lost to. It's like how when in 2011, England lost to Bangladesh and Ireland both.
Yep.
But they won against South Africa, who were the group toppers. They won against West Indies and they tied versus India. So if you are dropping points to teams who are lower than you, then you also have to take points
Points
from
away.
teams who are above you.
Correct.
So this format is such that even if you end up dropping points to teams who are lower than you, there isn't enough consequence. You can still make it.
Thank you very much, Baji. As always, you've been very
Thank you.
kind. I appreciate it. I love watching your content.